Hi there, Coach Sage of VHMax Productions here in Buena Vista, well, outside of Buena Vista, Colorado, up at about 10,000 feet. Some awesome trails out here in the fall with the aspens changing colors. They're the same color as my Hoka jacket, ironically, but pretty cool out here. Just wanted to talk about mileage progression. I've probably touched on this in a lot of previous training talks over the years, but just a real important thing for you younger runners, maybe in high school or even middle school or college, or even people new to the sport in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, getting into it, whether you're a 5K runner, 10K runner, half marathon, road runner, or you're an ultra mountain trail runner up to 100 miles. These are kind of some key things that I think are important, and just kind of my story of sharing progression. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because everyone is different, and personal stories don't always carry a ton of weight, but just kind of a logical progression that I did starting out running 18 years year-round now. Never had an overuse injury that's knocked me out for more than 2 weeks at a time. Knock on wood there. This is an aspen tree, I think. But yeah, part of it is being conservative with your training, and it's not all about just the mileage figure, the volume figure, how many miles or kilometers you do in a week. It's the actual relative intensity, I think, that's at least, I think, in my opinion, has made me overtrain in the past and perform inconsistently in races. And I've had a lot of crappy years in running. I mean, this past summer's been a little rough with just Western States and Run Rabbit, but I did do well at Black Canyon this year and Transvolcania, and Houston was a 2:20 marathon. It wasn't horrible, but it was a little subpar. But I've had whole years in college and high school where I regressed and did horrible. My whole first year turning pro as a road marathoner at Hanson's Brooks in Michigan after college was horrible. I mean, I was running really bad. So you go through ebbs and flows, and some of it has to do with general health, some of it has to do with other things outside of your control, maybe in life, with stress, and diet for that matter. But it's not all just one thing. Usually it's a combination of things. And with volume, you have to be smart in your progression, because a lot of runners were really eager to improve and to get to that next level, or we think we have to run X amount of miles per week to finish a certain race or to hit a certain time, and that's really not true. I mean, obviously, more mileage usually helps, and you probably are limited with your time and family commitments, job commitments, the environment you train in. Sometimes it's hard to squeak out the extra miles, but generally when you're going from, say, 20 to 30, 40 miles per week, that would be like 40 kilometers per week would be 25 miles ish, to 50k per week, 31 miles a week, to 60 or 70k per week. That's when you can make some pretty big gains, actually, and that's what I found in my high school career. I started running 20, 30 miles a week, but it was all high intensity stuff. We were doing track workouts like 3 times a week, repeat 200 meters, 400 meters, all sorts of, weird runs, easy runs that were way too fast. Whereas if you relax on your easy runs, you're less likely to get overuse injury, you're less likely to get hurt, and you could really train your cardiovascular system and your metabolism over time to just be more efficient, because the name of the game is not getting hurt, and the name of the game is being consistent. So even at 65-70% maximum heart rate, just go by conversational pace. You should be able to talk really easily, enjoy the majority of your runs, especially when you're building mileage. Basically all my easy miles in the summer before cross country season in school would be very easy and relaxed, and if I did do any speed work, it would be doing strides or doing really short 400 meter workouts with a full recovery that wouldn't develop high levels of lactate, and I wouldn't be straining. It'd just be all for running form and fast twitch muscle fiber stimulation. So you have to periodize your training so that you get into more intensity later in the season, and you only touch on intensity when you want to get that next boost. The first thing is building your mileage up to a consistent level, and doing that mainly through easy relaxed running. So in high school I was running 30-40 miles a week, a lot as a sophomore. Junior year, I really pushed the envelope, got up to 50-60 miles a week. And guess what? I had a horrible year. I ran slower as a junior in high school than I did as a sophomore in high school. And part of it was I had some issues, I think, maybe with iron. I was an ovo-lacto-vegetarian at the time, but iron deficiency followed me in college with my teammates in college that ate a lot of well, they're all different types of diets, but a lot of my teammates in college struggle with iron deficiency. A lot of runners do. So, you know, that could affect performance, but also just the stress of going to school or going to a job and working full time and sleep deprivation and all these things combined. So, you know, it took almost a year for that training, that higher mileage to really kick in. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd hit up to 70 miles a week. But during the season, I was averaging more like 40 miles a week. And I improved a lot. I basically took almost a minute off my 5K timing cross country and went from 9:01 in the 3K to 8:46 for 3,000 meters. My mile wasn't very good though, 1,500. But you know, and I also ran a 1:13 half marathon that year off of 30-40 miles a week, and never doing a long run over 10-12 miles in distance. The half marathon race I did in high school was actually the longest I'd ever run. Up to that point. And then, you know, progressing in college to hitting my first 100-mile week as a sophomore in college, that was over 10 years ago, was, you know, my freshman year of college was also horrible. So, you know, you have these ebbs and flows and you can't control them always, but that was the kind of mileage progression we were doing, 70 to 80 miles a week as a freshman in college, and then you know, 100 miles a week plus as a sophomore and beyond. And I know most of you probably, you know, aren't looking to hit triple digit mileage weeks, and you don't have to. But if you're getting up to, you know, 30, 40, 50 miles a week, 60 miles a week, like our Sage Running BQ marathon plan, for example, goes, I have to look at it now, I believe it goes up to about 60 miles a week. That's kind of the level that most people usually need to train at to be able to run a BQ type of time. Now, obviously, it depends on your talent level. Some people need to run more. Some people could get away with doing less, but you also have to do a good mix of quality workouts, quality speed sessions, and have that strength, as well as a lifetime base worth of miles. And that's really about just not, you know, taking months and months off where you get really injured and you can't run or exercise or get in that aerobic conditioning, because these things take years to build up. And you know, it's about accumulating lifetime miles, I believe, and also staying healthy, which I've been lucky with so far, but I have overtrained. And you know, you go through these ebbs and flows. So, you know, just an extreme example, I guess, when I had one of my best seasons in college was my senior year at Cornell. Going into that summer, I had 16 weeks in a row over 100 miles a week, with highs of 120 miles a week, and I actually hit 150 miles a week in college. That didn't go well, but over 16 weeks in a row over 100 miles a week was the kind of base that I was putting in to race 8K to 10K cross country, and that was my best year. I mean, I was able to go into the season still running high mileage the first part of the season, and then as we tapered down for the competitive part at conference and regionals and nationals, I was able to taper off. But again, with mileage, it is about, you know, mostly easy pace, relaxed running, something I didn't do in high school. We'd always take off the door at 6-minute mile pace and just pound ourselves in. And, you know, at Hanson's Brooks, a lot of the guys, Brian Sell and Mike Morgan, Mike Morgan was a 215, 214 guy. Well, he still is. Brian Sell was running 210, made the Olympics. You know, at their peak, they were running 6-minute mile pace to 5:40 pace on their easy days, and then doing these workouts at sub 5-minute mile pace. Whereas if you're, you know, at a different level, you need to have a big differentiation between maybe your half marathon race pace, your marathon race pace versus your easy day relaxed pace. And it could be a minute per mile slower on some days versus other days, depending on how you feel. And you know, for those guys running at 6-minute mile pace every day was something they could handle, and it made them stronger. They're also racing the marathon close to 5 flat per mile. Whereas for me, when I got thrown into that, I was totally wrecked. I didn't get injured, but I was really tired. I came out at Boston and ran 2:24 that year, and it was embarrassing because I had already run 2:21 in college, and here, you know, I was supposed to be a professional marathon runner. So, you know, things like that do happen, and usually with the overtraining and the injuries, it comes from relative intensity. It comes from people jumping into speed work too fast too soon, running these positive split speed workouts, or doing tempo runs, which should be at 85%, about 85-88% maximum heart rate, or, you know, more like 80% perceived effort, doing them all out, doing a 20-minute tempo run or a 30-minute tempo run, you know, as hard as you can, and trying to lower your threshold that way. It will get you in shape for a short term, but the skeletal muscular stress might not be worth it. And you know, just the pounding, people get shin splints, people get stress fractures, people get Achilles tendonitis, people get plantar fasciitis a lot. Those are just some of the most common injuries I could think of. And you know, I saw it happen. I saw it happen in high school. You know, high school kids running 20 miles a week get a stress fracture. In college, every year, I mean, someone goes down with a stress fracture, someone goes down with muscle strain, someone goes down with mono. I mean, it was, people would drop like flies on high school, college teams, and then at the pro level as well, you see people have to go through surgery to overcome injuries. So it's a tough, demanding sport. You got to be patient. You got to wait for things to pay off. And you know, if you're progressing your mileage, let's say from 30 miles a week, you know, you want to hold it at 30 miles a week maybe for a couple weeks. Then maybe you could go 35 miles a week. Then maybe back down to 30. Then 35 again. Then maybe get up to 40 miles a week. Hold it there at 40 miles a week, couple weeks. Then go back down to 35. Then maybe push 42 miles per week, 45 miles per week. But you know, you don't always just shoot up in your mileage. And you know, historically, I mean, in college I went from 0 miles a week to 100 miles a week in 1 week. I don't do that anymore. I'm a little older now, so you know, I probably could, but it might hurt, and it's an unnecessary injury risk. So don't make jumps too fast, and be careful when you start adding in intensity, you know, with the actual quality sessions, speed work, and harder long run efforts, to do that gradually, because that's an extra stress that could push you over the edge. And it's the stress that gives you an extra fitness bump eventually, but it's also a stress that could lead to injury and overtraining and things like that, inconsistency. So, you know, in my career, I've had a lot of rough seasons and rough performances, and a lot of it I attribute to overtraining. And I've seen a lot of people, it happens because they get injured, and that's just not fun. So be smart in progressing with your training. Again, you don't have to run 100 miles a week to do really well in the sport. I think, you know, a lot of ultra runners run 40, 50 miles a week, 60 miles a week. Obviously, usually the more you could put in, probably the better performance you could get, as long as you don't get hurt and as long as you don't blow out your speed workouts because of all the volume, or deprive yourself of too much sleep, really, because of you have to wake up so early to get in the thing. So it's a tough balance. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, and it's something I'm still figuring out, I admit, with myself. And but it's just things I've learned from running at the collegiate level, and then running road marathons, as well as now the trail ultras, and just seeing my teammates, as well as just other competitors even. You can see what people are up to on Strava and stuff. So check that out, and hope your training's going well. Hope the fall season's treating you well, and you get some good weather like we've had out here in Colorado. And stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.